everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business series. What are you good at? What I do with Jeff Gunsberg with
I
Title
love
Connect.
the intro. I always love that intro.
Every time. I love it every time. Looking forward to talking with Jason Hamama with Encore Development Companies. Jason, it's great to connect with you. This series is all about helping other people either tap into what they're good at, figure out what they're good at, or inspire people to make a shift to what they are good at. And so you're in the real estate space. You are a talented guy who's passionate about what you do. But how did you figure out what you were good at?
Well, glad to be on with you guys. So I've always been, I guess, obsessed with real estate since I was a kid. So just kind of took me a little while to get there. You know, I've kind of been an entrepreneur since I was a young age. Started, built, sold a handful of different businesses. Then it got me to a point to start investing in real estate. Was right around 2011. So yeah, I started off as Hamama Properties, and we rebranded everything as Encore in 2015. So a little over 10 years as Encore.
It's great.
Yeah. So you said obsessed with real estate. Did were your parents involved in that at all? Like, did you see that kind of like growing up, and like what you were doing, and like how did you like come to get to that point where you realized that like this was something that you liked?
So actually my parents, so nobody really in my family was invested in real estate. I grew up in the gas station convenience store business. So my dad and my uncle had a handful of stations in the city. So I grew up around that. But as soon as I started to learn a little bit of what real estate really is, I would just look into it further and further. And I say probably by the time I hit my young teens, I'm like, man, this is something I really want to get into. But easier said than done. So, but yeah, now Encore is full-blown real estate investment company. We own and manage, develop, and for the majority do most of our construction in-house. So
Yeah, you are a full service company. I want to go back because you and kind of talk about being an entrepreneur, right? So being an entrepreneur, you're able to start a business, have all of the tentacles that you just talked about within your business. What I find is entrepreneurs typically are also kind of like, a little bit of a different entrepreneur in every, business that they have within their business. And so what does it mean? And the freedom to do so. And I think there's a lot of freedom with being an entrepreneur, not to say that there isn't probably twice or three times the amount of work that if you were an employee. And so what does being an entrepreneur mean today, right? We're recording this first quarter 2026. AI is significantly changing the game this year. You can start a company today. They're talking about today, you can start $1 billion, maybe even $1 trillion business as an entrepreneur with less than 10 employees. Technology has never been less expensive. And when it is expensive, companies are building it themselves with a $20 subscription to Claude and to ChatGPT. And so what does being an entrepreneur today mean, Jason?
Totally different, right?
Totally different, yeah.
Totally different. I mean, what took us millions and millions of dollars to get and invest, and what kind of return we're getting for that. Like you said, I mean, I call them kids, but much younger than me. But
I just want to say one thing on that. I just talked to a client who they were saying that there was a something that they wanted their company to buy a product. The product doesn't matter for the sake of discussion. The software was $30,000. They said, we're not going to do it. So they built it on Claude Enterprise, period. They just built it themselves. for nothing. I mean, for whatever the subscription is. My brother had an idea about a year or so ago for this thing he needed to build for his business. They told him it would be 50 grand. He just built it himself with a $20 subscription to Claude and a $20 subscription to ChatGPT. So what they told him would be 50 grand, he built for $40 a year later.
Crazy.
I just want to put some texture to what you just said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is, I think this is going to be huge for everybody, even us. I mean, utilizing it as your tools for growth and for the future. A lot of people, I guess, call it, have been worried about AI is going to take everybody's jobs. I don't believe in that. I think AI is gonna be just the top tool that we're all going to use. If anything, it's people that are going to lose their jobs are probably the ones that probably should have never had that job to begin with. So it's a different environment now with AI. The speed of information now, right? I mean, what took even with the internet, what took let's call it half hour worth of research or an hour worth of research. I mean, now you're getting it in seconds just by asking ChatGPT. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's a different world. I think there's huge. So
I think about it like this. If you know your space and you understand your space, you can use AI to enhance what you're doing. I don't believe, a lot of folks are using AI to, create themselves in the marketplace. But if you don't know what you don't know, you're not going to really succeed utilizing that. So, my question to you too is like, at this point, understanding a little bit about AI, how are you guys using that in your world to enhance what you're doing currently?
Yeah, so I mean, being in property management and development, there's a ton of apps to utilize. But what we've noticed, like the last 90 days, maybe even a little longer, is even the existing stuff that we use now all have an AI feature. So, I mean, it's almost impossible not to utilize it to a certain extent. Right?
Of course.
Everything from our property management software to, I mean, one of the girls in the office, she's putting together some stuff on Canva. Well, now Canva has an AI feature on the marketing side. So, I mean, on and on. It's literally, it seems like everything we're utilizing. Look at our emails. I don't care if you use, Outlook with Copilot or Gmail, Gemini. I mean, it's all embedded in AI now. So it's very hard to avoid, AI in this day and age.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jason. It's so interesting to me. There's still people you find that say, well, I don't do social because I don't believe in social. Okay, but that's where your clients are, right? And so whether you think it's good or bad, that's where your clients are. You have to be there. And there's still a lot of people that are terrified and scared of AI, but it's not going anywhere. And so we have to learn it. We have to make it part of our world and figure out how to fit it in. And one of the obstacles I see is, when it comes to time management and people feeling overwhelmed, it's hard to find the minutes to actually research and find the time to do it. But I think you have to. I want to tie this into a question about just being an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you have a company, you do development, you do management, you do construction, you do hospitality, you have a fund. How do you, as a business owner, how do you manage your day to get to everything effectively, productively, and how will you use AI to, take some, pick any one of those buckets and say, wow, I can save 30 minutes in this bucket and 15 minutes in this bucket. So I'm not working harder. I'm actually working smarter, using AI as a business owner with different lanes of my business.
Yeah, no, good point. So, I think people are, as advanced and as much as we're going to use AI, I think obviously key people to put in place, is the most important, right? So from an stay organized. AI between the various employees we have in the different lines of business. We've been using AI in every one of those line businesses now, probably for right around a year or so. It actually keeps things streamlined, keeps things organized, but more importantly, it's just helping us efficiency wise, right? So whether that's on the fund side or financial side, you know, doing an analysis, utilizing AI for the analysis, or we've been utilizing some VAs on some of the marketing side and social media side. So, like you said, John, it's you just got to work smarter, right? We only have so much time in the day, so.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking is it actually is starting to identify for me personally issues, problems, in my own business as far as communication and people talking to each other. When I can have, a process or a system that is doing this, it's identifying more, and Jason, just like you, I'm not looking to remove people, right? Like, I don't believe AI for me personally is removing jobs per se, right? But what I feel like it's doing now is starting to identify that things could be done a little bit more efficiently, and now it's like getting me to a point where I'm seeing that, I'm realizing that, and then how do I utilize that right with my current people that are in place so that they become more efficient in what they're doing and how they do it day to day. And I'm just starting to really see that it's kind of hard to deny, like what is right in front of your face, and you really don't have that choice. Are you seeing that, like, that you're able to make some of the people more efficient based on utilizing some of these platforms?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, funny you said that. We have twice a week staff meetings, and last
It's
week,
hard too, like
yeah,
it's a hard thing, and I feel terrible about like bringing that up, with my team. I want to hear from you on
no,
what
so
you
no,
see.
it's funny you brought that up. So last week Thursday, a couple people sitting down at the conference taking notes, and I stopped them. I'm like, guys, why are you taking notes? Like, we have the AI taking the best notes possible, and this, it's going to spit out what everybody's to do is. Instead of sitting there and taking, notes for an hour, be focus on those notes and make sure you're efficient
Yeah.
enough to get them done. So I guess it's just going to help us all be more efficient. I think that's the most important thing. Like, you sit here, we could talk about what we got to do and take a million notes. Well, the execution part, right? I feel like, us as, let's call it, the human beings, we're the ones that are going to be, taking initiative to get those tasks done. So.
Yeah. It's interesting too. A lot of times, I go to a lot of meetings and with companies, whether it's in person, live, Teams, Zoom. So many people leave meetings. Until I get there and say differently, but most people leave meetings with no action items. They leave with no specific, no measurable action items, no deadlines, no owners of anything. AI can do that naturally. AI can do that naturally because they're listening, and then they're giving people kind of, their to-dos, their actionables that are specific and measurable. So I think it's an amazing tool to make people very efficient. I think something that people, like any technology, they don't realize it's slowly being introduced to their life very early on. I read a book in 1999, as we're talking this, it reminds me of it, called Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. And in it, it talked about, and it was referencing, I think, Amazon, but it was saying like the future is going to be like when you go to Amazon and buy a book. I think this is when Amazon only sold books. It's going to say to you, hey, you enjoy that book. so many other people bought this book, so you may like this book too. And we see it on Amazon every day. If you bought these 5 things, you'll also like these 5 things. That's
And
AI work.
Netflix, Amazon,
Correct.
Hulu,
People also
whatever
listen.
it says, what do you like this? I think you'll like this.
Yeah. But I want to keep on going back to this thing because you're such a quintessential entrepreneur, Jason, and mixing that with AI, and you said earlier, things are happening a lot faster. There's another book that I read 25 years ago called Crossing the Chasm. I don't know if you guys have read it. I reference it a lot. And in it, there is this kind of like bell curve. And the bell curve talks about that, like, I think it's 2 or 3.5% are these innovators. And then there's like 12-ish% or 13.5% of early adopters. And then there's this chasm with the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. And those make up like 30 some percent, 20 some 30% along. But in today's AI world, there really isn't time for the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards to where they used to have, let's say, years. Today, maybe they have a couple months before they really fall behind. And so, what would your advice be to an entrepreneur who is in the early majority, late majority, or the laggard mindset of things, and why you really need to be an early adopter and an innovator in today's world?
Honestly, you have no choice. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't innovate and reinvent yourself. Uh, you're sitting in the back seat. You're not. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for us being in the property management um, property management sector. Like we're constantly innovating. I mean, for us, innovation. I mean, I'm talking even renovations, right? Um, we have various tenants all across our portfolio, from attorneys to restaurants to retail tenants. Um, Without reinventing even the properties themselves, you begin to get scale, right? Whether it's a lobby renovations, landscaping renovations, whatever the case may be. From a marketing perspective, same thing. You're constantly reinventing yourself, right? AI just makes that so much easier now. Now I can, instead of spending 20 grand on renderings and see how this renovation is going to look, we can literally take a picture of the existing lobby, upload it, and have AI just spit out a kick-ass rendering of what this thing could look like. So I don't think there's really an option anymore. I mean, I think you got to either get on it or get in the back seat and somebody else is going to drive. That's it.
There's a reason the wind.
I find it so interesting, right? Like that the world is, like we're living in this inflationary period, right? Where like everything costs more money. But I know for you, Jason, because I deal in this world all day long, it's not like, okay, like I was going to collect X% on my property management, and now I can make it Y because everything costs more and all these things are happening. Like, it's kind of not hit that world, right, in the same way where it's like, property owners are willing to pay, whatever, 10, 15, 20% more for the same service that they were getting before. So what that has to do and look like on your end is, all right, I got to get more efficient and cost less for myself because I can't increase costs like that to them. And
100%.
so it's a really tough place to be. For you, I respect that you're in that place because the world is already like spinning around us, yet it seems like you and me both are in that spot. I have the same play. I can't just say, okay, now I'm charging X,
Yeah.
and everyone's going to accept that. It doesn't, come to fruition like that. And, I commend you on looking at the AI platforms to, kind of get you there. Are you seeing any bend like with people? uh, in understanding that the cost of what you're providing is they're seeing some flexibility at all in like maybe increasing some cost on that side?
I mean, we have this conversation all the time, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I got Jeff on a 5-year lease. I mean, I can't do anything about his rent, and then comes time for a renewal, right? And now a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, the tenant wants a reduction in rent. Well, I mean, insurance has gone up 30%, property taxes have gone up, utilities have gone up. So really, utilizing AI, doing cost cutting, that's you know that's a given. That's a must. We don't
Yeah.
really have an option anymore, right? I can't reduce my utility costs. I can't reduce my property taxes. So that's the other angle we have to look at. So.
I have a question. Thanks for that. So I have a question. I want to go back to working at the gas stations because to me that had to be like a master's in business, getting a PhD and master's in business. The amount of activity, the fast pacedness. I mean, what were some of the things the lessons and that you took from that?
Yeah, so it's definitely the school of hard knocks. I mean,
Yeah.
since I was a kid, and I grew up in that business. It's I think the most important. I mean, you can do all the schooling in the world, right? To be, say in the field and at a young age, just the discipline. So that's, to me, there's nothing strong. I mean, you could have all the smarts in the world, but the discipline to me is everything. So
Yeah.
when you're 10 years old and you're in inner city Detroit sweeping parking lots at a gas station, while all your friends are riding their bikes in the neighborhood, it definitely teaches you to be disciplined as you get older. So.
Yeah.
I can hear you guys. I hope you can hear me. Somehow my photo is gone. My video is gone.
Right. I think what you wanted to do, Jeff, is in the talk of all this AI, wanted to give a blue screen for people to have a meditative moment to
take a breath.
Stressed out. Correct. Yes.
Take a breath. We're all dealing with this whole thing. You're right, John.
Right.
You've created a very nice segue for me to say, like,
yes, absolutely.
I'm having to do that on a daily basis. I think 3 to 4 times where I just cut off, even for a moment. Like 1 minute, just take some breaths and like realize. But I think the identification of all of it is super important, to know that it's all there. But at the same time, what will you use? What makes sense for you in your business? And how do you talk to your people about all of that? I can assure you that my folks who I speak to about AI, like, they're shut off. A lot are shut off with the concerns, and some people have environmental concerns about creating all these AI data centers and blah blah blah. Like, there's a million different things that kind of come into play, and flushing out the noise of all of it, and then realizing for yourself what is the best thing for you, and how to move forward in your own business, I think is a huge piece of all of this. Like, you're not gonna, Jason's not gonna do the same things I would, and John's not gonna do the same things I would, and we all have our own kind of mechanisms in place of how we operate through this whole thing. But you can't ignore it. And I think you said that early on, Jason, right? Like, there's no ignoring what we're dealing with, right? It is in front of our face. We have no way to avoid it. It is part of what's going on here. What do you feel like the human function is in your business, is, in conjunction with the AI, is kind of where I'm at now. Like, I'm not alleviating people of their jobs and removing them from their jobs based on what I'm seeing. but I also know that we can get way more efficient in what we're doing. And I hear you saying that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's do a quick speed round. Well, first of all, before we do into a quick speed round, Jason, tell everybody like who your ideal clients are and
Yeah.
who you how to connect with you.
Yeah, for sure. So, we do everything from retail, office medical, as well as multifamily. Like I said earlier, we own and manage all our own properties, but we actually just recently started third-party property management. So it's literally just kicked off. Let's call it the last 30 days or so. So now we're providing the same level of service. We provide, our company-owned assets with, third-party management. So we've actually already taken on a handful of clients, and we've seen a lot of success thus far. So
it's great.
And Jason, you have that. The reason I would assume the kind of progression to go to that is that you're doing it for yourself. You have the infrastructure and the people in place to do that, and you've identified like the right way for yourself to do it, and you want to present that to other people in the way that you're doing it for yourself.
That's correct.
Kind of seems like what I'm hearing from you, which I think is great. There's so many management companies out there that are just kind of in there to be in there. When you've done it for yourself for some period of time, you know what you expect and you know what you want to provide for somebody else to be able to create that high level of service that I think is not really out there. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it from an owner's perspective, right? So
yeah,
I think it will help. It will help owners.
Of course.
When we can handle a lot of even their construction needs, right?
Yeah.
New tenant. We're debating, should we take this lease? What is it going to cost to build out? We can help with all that.
Right.
From A to Z. So
I think it's great. And to that point, you're, a lot of times in front of how things have been, the questions to ask to build awareness, to get in front, to get granular on things where people just are missing. Kudos to you. Kudos. I think it's great. All right. Quick speed round. A book, an article, a video, something that's had an impact on you.
Well, articles, I mean, there's a ton of articles, right? Books. Honestly, I think, John, this is kudos to you. You put me up on the Founders podcast.
The best.
I can't stop listening.
I can't. I'm addicted to it.
By the way, it's really good. It's really good.
So, I'd say over the last 5, I haven't listened to anything but that for the last.
Yeah. It's funny. It has that podcast. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of books. That podcast has decreased my books. I mean, I still listen to a lot of books, but it's so good.
They're so smart. They're just so smart. It's so organic and like good conversation that the majority of people can understand. And relate to. And there's always something that seems to come out that I really like.
Yeah,
for sure. I would say book-wise, probably one of my all-time faves. I always reference it is The Art of War. That's been my go-to for
there
a long
time.
Yeah, I'd say that book.
All right, good. Jeff, you got a question?
Yeah, I wonder for you, I think this is like one I haven't asked in a bit, but tell me like in your own family and you're like growing up in your younger age, like what was like a piece of advice or something you heard that you still kind of carry with you, hearing it from a younger age that is something that you're currently using today?
It's something I repeat to my boys now, to this day. So, my parents taught me this at a young age. No matter what room you're in, you're always going to have smarter people, bigger people, faster people, but don't let anybody outwork you in that room. So,
Yeah.
I kind of always kept that, first and foremost, and I've taught that to my kids as well. Doesn't matter. I mean, obviously you want to be smart, you want to be all those things, but no matter what, don't let anybody outwork you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that. I don't think I've ever been the smartest person in the room, but I definitely can outwork people.
no, for sure.
Definitely can
Likewise.
outwork people.
And always continue growing, listening.
Yeah.
I'm a sponge every single day. So, taking advice from, both of you guys, other people, ways we can do things better, we always be open to that. So.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's great. Last question, unless Jeff has a last question, but my last question, finish this sentence. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not studying AI, you should
reconsider.
Full stop. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Jeff, any last questions? All right. I think Jeff is having some technical difficulties.
Jeff, we talked about cost cutting. Jeff, I think, cut off the internet.
Hey, Jason, this was great. I appreciate your insight on being an entrepreneur, AI, the way you look at business, the way you look at hard work, the way you have mastered what you do for yourself, and then built your company to help other people and scale your business and grow. I think it's great. So I appreciate you being on the show. Think community. One thing I will. One quick takeaway: hard work. Nothing beats it. Whether if you're scared of AI, if the world is moving fast, nothing gets you in front of all of it than really, really hard work. I think those messages are great. Jeff, any closing thoughts?
You know what? Hard work is, and sorry guys, I was kind of bouncing around there in the ether for some reason. But anyway, I honestly tell my kids this, that's the thing. I feel like our generation of people learned from our parents that we had to do some things to get what we wanted. And, the hard work portion of that whole thing is everything. Work ethic, I think. I don't care what you want to do. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, no matter where you want to be or where you want to go, you got to put the effort in. And I think that's a huge piece of, what I continually try to teach my kids is that, you want something, put the effort in. You have to have that. I don't care if you're trying to understand AI or trying to grow your business, or you're just trying to, learn something for yourself. You got to put the work in, put the effort in. And it's a huge thing. And I see Jason do that constantly. Like, I've known him for some period of time, and I commend him on his efforts and growing himself, growing his company. And, I think it's a huge thing, and it's a testament to him that, you work hard, you put the effort in, and you try and understand your client base and where they want to go and who they want to be. You can get there. You just got to put the effort in. So,
and I'll add one thing to that. And you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days.
Oh God, more bad than good, probably.
Right. But to have the perseverance to get up and know that tomorrow is another day, and you're just going to keep on working through it because you've got that drive in you. I just want to bring it back to your obsession, right? You grew up in a family where, not necessarily a real estate family, but you found your obsession, your passion, your talent early. And I think, you know, this series, What Are You Good At, is meant to ignite that within people, right? What is your obsession? I was 18 years old. My dad gave me a set of tape sets by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Success. I knew I wanted to be a business coach, write books, and grow companies at 18. I was obsessed with it all through college. I listened, I still do. And so when you find what that is, think community, tap in to it, and let your talent and your passion guide you. But hard work doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. It just means it's more fulfilling.
Yeah, no,
And,
absolutely.
you know, is it worth it for you? Right? Like,
Yeah.
is this something that you love, or that, you know, like, I wish I could sit here and tell you that title insurance was my passion, you know, as I was growing up. I can't tell you that, you know, like, my path guided me in that direction. You know, I think it's really important for people to, you know, sit down and think, you know, even at a younger age, to like understand what you might like and where you want to go. And, you know, nowadays we have conversations with our kids that our parents did not because they didn't want to, just it wasn't really present at that time.
Yeah.
So, you know, now we have the ability to like get our kids to a place where, you know, they might be able to do something that they love, and you know, planting the seed of thought in where you might want to go. I feel like
Mic drop for Jeff. All right, Jason, EncoreDevCo.com. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to piggyback before Jeff froze, I mean, love what you do, right? So, you know, going to work every day shouldn't feel like work. So
Right.
you enjoy what you do regardless of what you do, and have a passion for it.
How can people connect with you, Jason? Phone, email?
Phone, email, you know, phone, email, I say is the best way.
You want to give them the info?
Yeah, so EncoreDevCo.com for our website, Jason at EncoreDevCo.com, email, my cell phone number, 248-974-1100. Yeah, pretty easy to get a hold of. So
great. All right. Well, Jason, I appreciate it. From Jeff and I, sorry about that. Thanks, man. This was great. A couple of technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's happening, but this was great, and appreciate all your wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff. This was great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.